Welcome to another exciting episode of Sports Catalog. The Total Energy Africa Cup of Nations competition in Ivory Coast is all about total drama, excitements, and pathetic scenes since day one till date. Let us feed you with updates in Ivory Coast CAF Africa Cup of Nations. Still reeling from the excitement of the Super Eagles' victory over Cameroon at the ongoing Africa Cup of Nations in Ivory Coast, fans have now shifted attention to another highly anticipated showdown, the boxing match between Nigerian boxer Anthony Joshua and Cameroon-born fighter Francis Ngannou, which some have dubbed Nigeria vs Cameroon Part 2. The heightened anticipation for this boxing match stems from the desire for national bragging rights following the Eagles' 2-0 win over the indomitable Lions in the round of 16 of the AFCON, which sent Rigobert Song's men out of the competition. While the recent football victory fuels the friendly banter, it also adds an element of revenge for Ngannou, who may seek to avenge Cameroon's loss in the ring. Nigeria have a major concern over the fitness of African Footballer of the Year Victor Osimhen ahead of the Africa Cup of Nations semi-final with South Africa on Wednesday. The Super Eagles striker missed the squad's flight from Abidjan to Bouak on Monday after complaining of abdominal discomfort. Before that, the 25-year-old had been ever present for his side at the tournament and has scored 21 goals in 32 international appearances. Team medics confirmed that he has been placed under close watch with a member of the medical team staying behind in Abidjan with him, Nigeria said on Tuesday on the social media platform X. South African football fans flooded CAF's page to express their displeasure after the football body celebrated their first goal with Asaki's song playing in the background. As expected, Nigerians were present to respond as one said, when Davido said, "Now we get on the piano," they thought he was joking. Book, Ivory Coast, South Africa are quietly confident they have Nigeria's strikers well scouted ahead of the Africa Cup of Nations semi-final on Wednesday, with video analyst Sinisifo Mali being hailed as the team's secret weapon. Bafana had Mali to thank after advancing past Cape Verde 2-1 on penalties in Saturday's quarter-final in Yamoussoukro, as goalkeeper Ronwen Williams pulled off 4 shootout saves after a 0-0 draw to set up the meeting with Nigeria. Now, Mali and head coach Hugo Broos are confident the analysts' work behind the scenes will help them get the better of the 3-time champions. Nigeria are a team who become better and better every game, and again, versus Angola, they are a good team with a great striker, Osimhen. South Africa goalkeeper Ronwen Williams has been the name on everybody's lips since his remarkable 4 saves in the Africa Cup of Nations, AFCON, quarter-final penalty shootout against Cape Verde. On the opposite side of the pitch in the semi-final on Wednesday will be Nigeria stopper Stanley Nwabali, who has come out of seemingly nowhere to become the defensive hero for the Super Eagles. Nwabali plays his club football for the DStv Premiership Chippa United. The Cameroon Football Federation has rejected Samuel Eto'o's resignation as its president following the Indomitable Lions' disappointing exit from the 2023 Africa Cup of Nations at the round of 16 stage. Following the 0-2 defeat to Nigeria marking a premature end to their AFCON campaign, Eto'o tendered his resignation in response to the team's performance. However, Fecafoot announced in a statement on Monday that it had rejected his resignation. The statement read, "The Executive Committee of the Cameroon Football Federation held a session this Monday, February 5 at the Yaoundé Hilton Hotel. Sacked a manager, beat the entire continent. It would make a redemption story improbable enough to make the Mighty Ducks, the Karate Kid or even Rocky blush, but it's what Ivory Coast are facing the prospect of at the Africa Cup of Nations. The hosts of this year's tournament were within a whisker of being knocked out embarrassingly early on home soil, but a brave decision looks to have become an inspired one, with the Elephants now just 90 minutes away from their first AFCON final in almost a decade. This, after being only injury time away from an ignominious exit. From the group stage, the top two go through, and so do 4 of the 6 third-placed teams. In other words, only the worst 8 nations from the starting 24 fail to make the knockouts at the AFCON, and Ivory Coast put themselves firmly on course to be in that collection after a win and 2 defeats. Yves Bissouma will return to Tottenham this week after Mali's coach revealed that he had played with malaria at the Africa Cup of Nations. Bissouma is expected to report back at Hotspur Way in the next 48 hours when he will undergo a routine assessment for all players returning from international duty. The midfielder is understood to have been suffering from malaria during the tournament in Ivory Coast, but is now thought to be free of the disease. Bissouma came off the bench for Mali as they were beaten 2-1 by the hosts after extra time in Saturday's quarter-final tie. The highly anticipated African Cup of Nations, AFCON, clash between Nigeria's Super Eagles and South Africa's Bafana Bafana brings national pride and financial rewards. The Confederal of African Football, CAF, has announced that the Super Eagles will be entitled to a guaranteed sum of $4 million, over $5 billion, if they book a place in the finals. The amount could rise to as high as $7 million and $8.75 billion should the Super Eagles win the 2024 competition. As one of the last 4 teams standing in the competition, alongside South Africa, their semi-final opponents, DR Congo, and hosts Ivory Coast, the Eagles have already secured a substantial N$3.5 billion, $2.5 million. Some Nigerian football fans have urged the federal government to take proactive measures to protect the lives of Nigerians living in South Africa, following threats by some fans in the country. The news agency of Nigeria, NAN, reports that an advisory by the Nigerian High Commission in Pretoria, South Africa, advised Nigerians to be cautious of their movements, comments, and maintain good conduct before, during and after the AFCON semi-final clash on Wednesday. Rui Vitória has been sacked as Egypt head coach after the African football giants' hopes of a record-extending 8th Africa Cup of Nations triumph were dashed last week, the Egyptian Football Association (EFA) announced. In a statement, the EFA board of directors thanked Portuguese manager Rui Vitória and his staff, adding it was reviewing foreign coaches' resumes. In the interim, former Al Ahly coach Mohamed Youssef would take charge of the national side, who were knocked out of the competition last week in a dramatic penalty shootout against the Democratic Republic of Congo. The loss in the last 16 was a bitter pill for the Egyptians, who had gone to Ivory Coast hoping to win a first Cup of Nations since 2010, a year before talisman Mohamed Salah made his senior international debut. Epilogue. Nigeria's superstar Victor Osimhen is available to play in Wednesday's Africa Cup of Nations semi-final against South Africa following a fitness scare, the team confirmed.
গুড চাই তুমি কোনো জায়গার বাল কাটবে না মায়ের পা দুটো মোটা বলে গুদের কাজটা থাই একদম সেটা আছে আমি মাকে একটা পা চৌকিতে তুলে দিলাম যেই গুদে হাত দিলাম মা থরথর করে কেঁপে উঠল আমি বুঝে গেলাম মাগি খসে গেল
South Africa have been beaten several times by Nigeria in major competitive matches, and the last time both nations locked horns together in a semi-final of Africa Cup of Nations was in year 2000, which South Africa lost by 2 goals to Nigeria in Lagos. We continue to update you on Sports Catalog on Africa Cup of Nations as you continue to share, like and comment.